Last thing, I want to talk about my interaction with the NBA officials on Twitter. Um, I watched a play the other night. It was Philly at Golden State. Pat Bev comes around a screen. Steph goes under, tries to stay parallel with Pat Bev. Pat Bev initiates the contact into his hip, gets the shot up, and gets the free throw. Stan Van Gundy on the call called it a good call. And my feeling is, after seeing so many offensive players initiate contact, more so this season than any season before, that I don't think this is a good call. The rules have me, all right, but I've read it, and there's talk of head in front of torso and all these kinds of things. There's also another thing that's more egregious than the clip that I even used, where I'm just seeing it more and more, where if a player drives parallel to the paint, you can't really square up in front of him because then you'd be giving him the paint. But they're driving not in a straight line to the rim. They're driving parallel to the paint. So they're not actually like going A to B to the rim. And then you get on their side. And then it's very easy for your position defensively to be compromised. Okay. So I've seen it over and over and over again. And I clipped it. I wasn't going to say, hey, here's a bad play clip. Refs are terrible, because I don't feel that way. I'm talking about the evolution of certain things that I see that become more and more favorable to the offensive player. So the at official NBA refs, which is run by the union, and look, they're looking out for their guys the same way the players union looks out for players. They're looking out for the officials. I thought their response to me was dismissive and basically quote tweeted me, I think, a bit to try to drag me through it for a couple of days. So they were like, quote, by rule, this is a defensive foul as Curry is turned sideways illegal and moving into the path of Beverly. The contact clearly impedes the progress of Beverly to the basket and was correctly judged as a defensive foul. Beverly is driving to the rim, and by rule, this is a responsibility of the defender to be in legal guarding position. We are trained to judge the legality of the defender unless the offensive player does something overt or abnormal that would trump a defender that is not in a legal guarding position. Legal guarding position, good luck with that one. And what Beverly does, he knows exactly what he's doing. I'm not a fucking idiot, all right? So I didn't love the tweet, and I went with the mad rule where I was like, if I'm mad about this in 10 minutes, I'll respond. It was chest day. I was still mad about it 10 minutes later. So I responded, I guess every rule is perfect then. Are you interested in making the game better, protecting the interpretations of the rule? This specific call puts the defender at a massive disadvantage. I watch it every night. Drive to the side, initiate the contact, get a bad shot up attempt, 2 free throws. You need to adapt. Stop letting the game devolve into your crews getting tricked all night. If it makes me want to turn it off, you have a problem. You don't want to lose me. Some people took that as self-aggrandizing. That was just being honest about what my life is. All right. I just watch a lot of hoops. And there's some nights where I go, what the fuck? Okay. And that was one of them. So it's not that I think the NBA needs me. I've never felt like any place, no matter how good of a job I'm doing, actually needs me. I don't think anywhere I've ever worked definitely needs me. In the NBA, if I decided I don't want to watch it today, they're probably still going to tip it off tomorrow night. So that was not the intent there, unless it was read that way. I apologize. And then I just wouldn't let it go because I was still mad. This is actually so insulting. Hey, here's the rule. Sorry. How many times did you have to explain that an offensive player jumping backwards into a trailing player was actually a foul? Why every coach looked at you like it was the dumbest thing ever. What rule was that? No response. This Twitter feed isn't always my favorite. If you remember LeBron last year in January in Boston, where he did get fouled after he traveled, tweeted, like everyone else, referees make mistakes. We made one at the end of last night's game, and that is gut-wrenching for us. This play will weigh heavily and cause sleepless nights as we strive to be the best referees we can be. So the reason I'm even sharing any of this with you is I think I applaud so many of you. You're like, yeah, dude, I'm not on that site. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Good for you. I don't really like going at anybody because it's just kind of a waste of time. Every now and then you might feel like doing it, but I don't know that, usually the 5 to 10 minute rule. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to do this, but it was chest day. So I was super amped up and it was the middle of that. Big dumbbell numbers. And this is just an overall frustration of the pivot. Like I think about the Zaza Pachulia Kawhi play where Zaza gets underneath Kawhi's landing spot, intentional or not. It's terrible. Kawhi gets hurt, ruins the Spurs' chances in that series. But why are Kawhi's ankles more valuable? Let me pick that up there. Why are Kawhi's ankles more valuable than Cam Reddish's ankles? Now, the simple answer is, well, because Kawhi's ankles are worth more than Cam Reddish's ankles. But you get my point. We were so worried about protecting the offensive player on that play that the unintended consequences become now, after 60 years of jump shooters landing perfectly fine, they've decided to land all over the place and get these calls. And then sometimes even have it turned into a flagrant just because you're trying to get out there and contest. So, officiating basketball is kind of this living organism that adapts and changes, and then it's up to everybody else to kind of figure it out. But the offensive player initiating the contact, and in that play specifically, like if you go by the rule book, I know it. Like, you've got me. But I also know what I see. And I see somebody driving to somebody's hip. So if at any point I have the ball and the other person is at a compromised defensive position and I just make contact with them, then by rule, then that's just a foul. And there's just too much of that stuff. That wasn't cut and dry. That's why I used it. I'll finish here. And I don't know how to say this without making it feel like I'm trying to be important. And that's not the goal. It's just that after the 24 hours of that tweet and people reaching out to me, I feel like I'm right. Now, I probably wouldn't do the monologue where I'd close and be like, hey, I heard from a ton of people, and boy, am I wrong. All right, let's talk some hoops. Thanks for downloading the pod. It may not be by the rules a problem, but it is a problem, if that makes sense.